time. We are closing the book on our series of alternate arts. It is very interesting. I love alternate art Pokemon cards. I just love the way they look. I love the stories. I love I love what they tell, what they resemble. And that's why I love illustration rares and special illustration rares as well. Like not as hard to pull, which is great, but still having that same artwork, that same story, beautiful, beautiful cards. Way different, right? Like if you think about how Pokemon has evolved, pun intended, over the past several years. Like we used to go from just basically a basic holographic card with like a nice colorful swirl behind it to some of these alternate arts, which are the artwork, the artistry is just absolutely amazing. Very appreciative for where Pokemon is going. Even though there's text on the card to play a specific game, having this artwork behind it makes it so collectible and makes it so fun. And the stories that they tell, especially with Pokemon, a lot of times combining cards together to tell even a greater story. It's absolutely amazing. Hope you guys are enjoying your Sunday. Thanks for taking the time to watch the video. At this point in time, if you're watching this video when it just came out, we are wrapping up the Indianapolis Regional Tournament. I hope it was a lot of fun. I am recording this video obviously in the future, or in the past. I'm recording in the past, so I'm hoping that Indianapolis is a lot of fun. It should be the biggest regional of the year. Hopefully we get some really fun decks, and hopefully it's a great time. But we're going to talk about some different alternate arts that don't get quite as much buzz, that don't get quite as much love, but are still making quite a bit of noise right now. So without any further ado, I'm going to stop rambling and I'm just going to flip you around. This Celebi V is where we're going to start. This one does get a fair amount of love. It's a beautiful card, and for a long time this card has been talked about, but it just always seemed that supply has been there and demand has not lived up to supply, which has caused it to stay relatively flat and even downturn quite a bit. So you can see in July of 2023, this was up to a one-year high of about $43.31. So, or $43.31. Well, no, it was at $40. So $38. I don't even know what I'm saying right now. $38 in July of 2023, and then retraced quite a bit. That was right around the time where a lot of other alternate arts were kind of falling apart. Dropped down to $21.46 in October. Did go back up to about $27, $28 and stayed relatively flat all the way up until March 24th. And then you can see this giant increase like what we've seen from a lot of these other alternate art Pokemon cards, especially the ones that we looked at in Thursday's video where it just jumped up like crazy. So going from basically a $25, $26 card, jumping up to $43.31 over the course of about 2 weeks, right around March 15th, March 16th, somewhere around there is really when a lot of these alternate arts really started taking off. So over the past month and a half, this card has almost doubled in price, jumping up to $43 and continuing to trend in the upward direction. Noivern V also making a little bit of noise, another card that's relatively inexpensive, so to speak. You know, it's been below $30 for the majority of its lifetime since the release of Evolving Skies in May of 2023. This was sitting at $32.08, so it's not back to its one-year high yet, but like all these other alternate arts, spent the majority of 2023 in a downturn. In December of 2023, it hit that one-year low of $22.02, and then saw some very strong growth a little bit earlier than some of these other ones that we looked at. So January and February were really the big months for this Noivern V, where it basically went from $22 up to about $30, so about 40-50% growth over the span of 2 months, then retraced a little bit in March and fell back down a couple dollars, now starting to tick back upwards, sitting at $28.96 currently. So still about 30% above where it was in December of 2023, but still off of its one-year high of $32.08. The Galarian Rapidash V is starting to make a little bit of noise. This one from Chilling Reign. I love this card. This one's absolutely beautiful. One of my favorite artworks of all the alternate arts for sure. This one was trending downward like what we saw from these other alternate arts. In May of 2023, it was sitting at a one-year high of $46.37, started going down. Then in July of 2023, it actually looked like this one might stay level. Like it looked like it might hold the test of time compared to the other alternate arts, but even the artwork on this one couldn't hold true to the massive decline that we saw from a lot of these other Sword and Shield alternate arts, and it dropped all the way down to $32.50 in October of 2023. Now we've seen it grow quite a bit. In October of 2023, it already started gaining quite a bit of ground, and then in December of 2023, leveled off a little bit more methodical of growth up until March. Then you saw a nice little steep incline there at the end of March, like what we've seen from a lot of these other alternate art Pokemon cards, sitting at about $40. So right in between its one-year high and one-year low, a little bit closer to its one-year high than its one-year low. The Empoleon V has seen quite a bit of growth over the past few months since December of 2023, when it was sitting at $21.36. So still well off of its one-year high, but closer to its one-year high than its one-year low. In May of 2023, this was sitting at $36.18, declined declined pretty much the entire year of 2023, like all these other alternate arts, then started going up a little bit. In March of 2024, saw some steep declines right around the middle of March, where it dropped back down below $24 and now gained about 30% back. So it's sitting at $30.69 currently. The Mew V, this one's very interesting because of the growth that it's had over the past several months, right? Like since December, where it hit that 1 year low of $25.57. The interesting thing with the Mew V is that you would expect it to actually decrease a little bit over the past couple of months, and that's why a lot of people aren't buying cards just for competitive play, because Mew V rotated out of competitive play. It is no longer playable in the standard format, and Mew was a very powerful deck really since its inception. Since Fusion Strike came out, Mew VMAX has been a super powerful deck, obviously winning the world championships and declining pretty much throughout 2023 until December. But then when rotation happened in March, it started going up like a lot of these other alternate arts did. So started seeing some of those other buyouts, a lot more attention being paid to the Sword and Shield alternate art era, because a lot of people just not huge fans of the Scarlet and Violet generation. So they're going back and they're filling out their Sword and Shield binders, and you can see this one in March of 2024 started seeing a lot of steep inclines, steep increases over that month and a half stretch, where it's sitting at $34.81 currently. So about 30% growth over the past 5 months. Still a little bit below its 1 year high, but definitely trending in that direction, getting closer and closer to that. Is Palkia V from Astral Radiance is very close to its 1 year high. It's actually hit its 1 year high, $41.29 recently, which is a little bit better than where it was in May of 2023. Palkia, not as competitive as it once was, so definitely not a huge threat in competitive play currently, but this one declined in October of 2023. It hit its 1 year low, so a little bit earlier than these other ones, which hit their 1 year low in December, and then in October it started increasing quite a bit, and decent growth really right away, like in October of 2023, just strong growth all the way up until recently, where it kind of retraced a little bit, sitting at $39.93. But since October of 2023, so over the past 9 months now, it's really, it's almost doubled in price, sitting at just under $40 currently, and continuing to trend in the upward direction. Same thing with Dialga V. Now, Dialga V does have a little bit of competitive playability with it now, probably not as good as what people were hoping it would be, but relatively flat from beginning of October 2023 all the way up until about February of 2024. It was right around that $23 mark. You can see it hit its 1 year low at the beginning of October of $23.51. It's really close to its 1 year high currently, so it's sitting at $40.77 right now, which is basically where it was a year ago. So everything that it had lost, it has gained back over the span of really 2 months, since the beginning of March all the way up until now the beginning of May. It's jumped all the way back to where it was about a year ago. So very interesting to see. The Galarian Articuno did hit a 1 year low in December of 2023. That's where it's dropped to $35.77, but it's done really well over the past 5 months or so, 6 months, kind of gained a lot of ground back. So it's not quite near its $48.81 1 year high, which it hit in May of 2023, but it's getting closer and closer to that, sitting at $42.96 currently, definitely trending in the upward direction. Even the Mewtwo V alternate art from Pokemon Go, this one has leveled off quite a bit. You can see in October of 2023, it hit that 1 year low of $14.82, which was a very steep decline from where it was in May of 2023. Lost about half of its value. It was sitting at $26.02 and then dropped, losing almost half of its value in October, and then relatively flat until March. And now over the past few months, or over the past month and a half, it's gained about 40%. So it's sitting at $19.64, right in between its 1 year high and 1 year low. It'll be very interesting to see what that one does in the near future. Of course, there's lots of Pokemon Go availability, especially well below MSRP. The Rotom V has done really well, very methodical growth since October of 2023, when it hit that 1 year low of $25.75. Still nowhere near its 1 year high. That was hit in May of 2023 when it hit $42.96, but still growing very, very well. Rotom V, one of the cards that is very playable right now. It's very splashable in a lot of Charizard EX decks. Is definitely moving in the right direction, hitting $34.32 recently, so well above its $25.75 low point, getting closer and closer to that 1 year high and continuing to trend in the upward direction. Here's the Giratina VSTAR from Crown Zenith. Crown Zenith is a very interesting set to watch. So even though there was so much Crown Zenith available, Crown Zenith is such a fun set to open and loved by the Pokemon community. I think Crown Zenith is going to be a very fun set, a very strong set for quite some time. And even with the amount of product that has been released, the amount of product that has been opened, this card is still growing. Like, it's really started moving in the opposite direction of where it was. $67.31, it was its low point, which it hit in December of 2023. So still well off of its 1-year high of 103.13. That was hit in May of 2023, but getting closer and closer to that. So it's gained about $15 over the past few months. Giratina, a very playable card, especially the VSTAR. So it's going to be played throughout the next year. It is very, very strong, but also the artwork, the alternate art variant in Lost Origin is loved by a lot of people. All those alternate arts are going to be loved for a long time. So definitely a card to keep an eye on. Then we've got the Arceus V from Brilliant Stars. A lot of love for this card recently, and that's why it's grown so much over the past month and a half. Steady decline pretty much throughout 2023. It bottomed out in March of 2024, actually, where it hit $21.47. And in the beginning of March, it jumped up like crazy, basically going from $21 all the way up to about $32. So it's gained about $11 over the past month and a half, about 50% growth. Not quite at the point of its $35.03 1-year high, but definitely getting closer and closer to that. If you're looking at just how it performed over the past month and a half, it'll be there in no time. The single strike Urshifu V, even this one seeing some decent growth since December of 2023 when it was sitting at $10.85. It's gained about 40% over the past 6 months now, jumping up to about $14.39, not too far off of its 1-year high, which was hit in June of 2023 when it was at $16.36. So another card that's not standard legal anymore, not in rotation anymore, but making a lot of noise over the past 6 months. Then we've got the Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX. This one's from Chilling Reign. This one has done extremely well over the past month and a half. It did drop a little bit earlier than a lot of these other cards that we looked at. In September of 2023, it was sitting at $47.69. It jumped up quite a bit. You can see in November of 2023, it was closing in on that $60 mark during a time where a lot of other alternate arts were continuing to trend downward, but then it kind of fell apart. And then in March of 2024, it was back down below $50. Looked like it might hit that 1-year low again, and then in the middle of March, it skyrocketed. It jumped up $13, $14 right away. So another 25-30% growth pattern over the past month, sitting at $63.78. That's a 1-year high for that card. And the last one is kind of just a troll card, Sandaconda V. This one has doubled in price over the past month and a half. I don't know why. There's a lot of attention. Seems to be some demand. I think it's just because this card is so cheap. So a lot of people taking advantage of how cheap this card is. In May of 2023, it was sitting at $5.92 as its 1-year high. It dropped all the way down in March of 2024. You can see it's sitting at $2.46 for an alternate art. Same pull rates as that alternate art Mew V. Same pull rates as that alternate art Celebi V. But $2.46, which is absolutely crazy. So I think a lot of people are like, well, this card's too cheap not to buy right now. I mean, if something happens to it, at least I own a copy of it. Now it's doubled in price over the past month. Hit that $5.92 1-year high again over the past month and a half, which is very, very funny, very interesting to look at. But that's it. Those are the other alternate. There's still more. Not all of them are making as much noise, so if you are collecting alternate arts and there's some that you're missing, now might be the time that you want to look at them and just see kind of where they're at, where they're trending, and if now is the best time to kind of pull that trigger. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. If you did, please consider hitting that subscribe button down below. Leave a like, leave a comment. It goes a long way for I say that every time. It really does, though. Like, it really means a lot. Ultimately, just you guys being here, watching me, talking to me about Pokemon. I love you guys. Thank you so much. That means the world to me. We'll be back tomorrow with a short, Tuesday with a video, Wednesday with a live. I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Until next time, peace.